Hi, I'm Georgina. I'm the editor of the Legal 500 UK Solicitors Guide.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm UK Research Manager.
With the deadline for the UK submissions fast approaching, we wanted to put together a helpful video to show you how to make your best submission possible.
Whether you're completely new to the process or an old hand at Legal 500 submissions, there should be plenty of information in this video to help you put your best foot forward.
The first thing to be aware of is our deadlines. So the deadline for the UK outside London submission is the 10th of February and for London it's the 31st of March. And then I just want to tell you a little bit about how we actually do the rankings. So we're looking at three main things. We're looking at the submission from the firms themselves, then we're backing that up with interviews with partners in the market, and then the third thing that we're looking at is the feedback that comes in from your clients.
So in terms of how we rank firms, we look at a variety of factors. A real key one is the work that practices are handling, which you can get across to us in your work highlights in the submission. We're looking at a practice's track record and how it's perceived in the market by peers and clients. We're looking at the calibre of the clients that you work with and what market share, if that's information you're able to get across to us. Bench strength is important. How many people have you got in your team? Have you added to your team recently? What sectors the practice focus on, which areas of particular expertise you have, and obviously client feedback goes hand in hand with all of that.
So the submission form is really, really important to us. It is the best opportunity for you to sell yourself to our researchers. That means telling us what matters in your team, about the individuals, the deals that you're working on, and the clients that you're working with, what sets your practice apart, what shows the growth and the trajectory of your practice. It's very important that you try and get that story across to us rather than simply the facts about the deals. It's also really important, if you're looking at our submission form, to try and fill in the about our ranking section on that submission form. Not everybody who submits is going to get an interview. And what that means is that you have still had an opportunity to talk about our rankings and how you see your practice fitting in with that.
So some more pointers on best practice. It's important to tailor your submissions to each practice area. Try to avoid combining lots of work from different practice areas into one submission if you can. As we've mentioned before, look to hit the deadlines because it helps us very much. The work that we're looking at, the research period for this cycle runs from January 2022 through to February 2023, or any more recent work, if you can squeeze that in, is useful for us. Older work is relevant, but we'd need to see material developments during the most recent research period. So you want to summarise the key aspects of any work, why it matters. Significance, complexity is really important to get across. Do try to describe work individually rather than grouping lots of work together, because then it tends to get muddied and there's less specifics. Work can of course be ongoing. We don't need to see completed work. A mix of ongoing and completed work is good, and if you can hit 20 matters, then that's great. So briefly on confidentiality, obviously our submission form allows you to put forward publishable information and non-publishable information, and that's very straightforward for you to do within the submission form. We do also allow you to select 3 matters which you're happy for us to publish. So those are distilled into a one-line description, and that's used for publication with the rankings. Within the individuals section, you put forward your leading individuals, next generation partners and rising stars, and that's your chance to make their case for a ranking. Alongside those, obviously you include evidence of their work, career highlights, any other qualifications which you think are relevant.
The third factor we're looking at when we're considering rankings is the client feedback. So that means that the clients you put forward to us are really important. So again, please make sure you get them in on time. We can't contact them unless they do come in on time and in the right format. Please make sure when you're choosing your clients that you are only putting forward people that you have worked with recently. If you do put forward people that you haven't worked with for a while, they may be less inclined to respond to our emails. In a similar vein, you might want to consider the seniority of the people that you're putting forward as referees, because the more senior somebody is, the busier they may be, whereas someone else that you worked with on the matter may be more inclined to respond to our surveys. When it comes to what we're using that client feedback for, it's really, really important when we are looking at whether firms are going to be considered for promotion, and also when we're looking at who to add to our individual lists. So if you want some of your lawyers to be considered for an individual ranking, please make sure that you have included referees for them, because if they don't have any positive client feedback, they are very unlikely to make our lists.
So a couple of pointers on regular pitfalls that firms should look out for. So one obvious thing is when people leave the practice, we don't want to see lots of evidence of work that was primarily handled by them, because that's obviously no longer relevant if they've left the team. Please don't overstate your role for particular clients, because we can obviously cross-check that against other firms and the information we have. You know, we understand that sometimes work has to be anonymised, but try not to do it so much that you lose any kind of sense of the significance of it. Obviously, be polite and charming with our researchers. Sometimes lawyers do tend to want to, discuss last year's rankings, perhaps bring up complaints about where they're placed. That's not really the forum for it, the research interview. Obviously, I'm sure you'll speak very kindly about all your own colleagues, and make sure you're on time for the interview.
Thank you very much for watching. We hope you found it helpful.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to get in touch. We'd be happy to help.